This is Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley. I'm the fellow who has a hyphen in my name. The hyphen is silent, but I am anything but that. This is Respectonomics reporting. Jeremy Wentworth-Stanley, the voice of Respectonomics, and Sarah Benton, our co-host. And this discussion is on an abbreviated expression called FOMO. Good morning, Sarah.
Good morning, Jeremy.
Well, it always sounds a bit rude, but anyway, FOMO stands for fear of missing out. And we want to talk about it for a few minutes because it is one of those things that undermines and distracts a lot of our lives. And it's worth looking at the sources of FOMO, the sources of why do we actually fear missing out. And one of the crippling problems is envy. And that is, envy is one of those nasty things that you see something and you must have it.
Right.
And I know two or three things about envy. First of all, whatever that object is or that arrangement is that other person has, generally speaking, it works well for them. Does not mean it generally works well with me.
Right.
So it's actually almost irrational in its origins. The other problem is this with envy. Facebook is a gorgeous, it's not called that any longer, is it? Meta, Facebook, whatever you call it.
Yes.
Is a terrific example of outright hypocrisy. Because if you ever go into a Facebook page, all you ever see is smiling faces. Here we are with the grandchildren. Here we are in Costa Rica. Here we are sailing and whatever it is.
Any of the social media platforms, right? Yeah. Instagram, it's got to look perfect.
It looks perfect. It looks wonderful. And if somebody could just peel off the onion skins, you would find out there's a great deal of strife. There's a great deal of hurt. There's a great deal of boredom. There's a great deal of a lot of things.
Right. It's typically not a true snapshot of reality is.
No. And that FOMO comes into action because we look at this pretty picture, and because our lives are not necessarily pretty pictures, we say, I want that pretty picture. And when you get the pretty picture in your life, it turns out it ain't so pretty. So there's the nut in a nutshell. It doesn't work. The source of it is this envy. And that's worth going back a line with too, to understand what is the origin of envy. And the origin of envy is when we feel inadequate in ourselves. There is something missing.
Right.
Fear of missing out is actually not missing out something else. It's actually a comment on what's missing out in our own personal lives.
Right.
And when you have that missing out in your personal life, the advertising industry loves you. They adore you because they can point out all the things that are missing in your life. And they've just come along to fill your basket. They've got everything you ever need. A brand new, smiling car, a lovely meal at a restaurant that costs 4 times more than it's worth. And the list goes on. So when we have this deficiency within ourselves, the commercial world is very good at exploiting it. And the fact of the matter is, as we've just discovered, it doesn't work. It doesn't satisfy. You've heard me say this before. And actually, I haven't used any Latin this morning. Here it is. Here it is.
We've been waiting for it.
I can't help it. It's just coming. It's coming. I got to do it. It's one I've used before. It's by Horace. And it's that sonavi apud meum, which means I had supper at my home. And what it means is, I lived a very simple, straightforward life. And when you think of the simple, straightforward things in life, that is in fact, I'm saying not always, but generally, that's where you find your true wealth. That's when you find those moments of intense satisfaction, tremendous enjoyment, and they become something you remember. You know that person who said to you, as you're walking along and looks at you and says, that's a really pretty blouse you're wearing, or Jeremy, that's a lovely tie, something of that ilk. You remember those things.
Right.
So, in other words, and football players, you know more about football than all of us, but football players who weigh, 250 pounds? Is that right?
Depends on what position they're playing.
Okay, but you would know that. I have not a clue. In soccer, you don't need to be 250 pounds.
Correct.
Exactly. And cricket, even less. But if you're playing football, You have these guys who are enormous people, and they run down the length of the field in ridiculous sort of, nanoseconds and all this kind of stuff. And they get the ball and they get it across the line, and they're wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. The thing that they really, really get off on is that little sticker star that the coach puts on their helmet to say, wow, you made a terrific move today. Mm. So you've got these ridiculous multi-million-dollar players sporting their little gold stickers on their helmets. And we do it as children. When you're with a child and you want the child to get down to the other end of the swimming pool within 2 minutes, what do? There's a jelly bean waiting for you. And what it amounts to is this: the very small rewards are very powerful. Mm. And that's why FOMO is also misleading, because it keeps taking you into the big stuff. No, it's the very small perfections in life that are very valuable and very memorable and very useful. So that's the sort of the general picture of it. The last thing I want to say about it is having that sense of inner peace. If you think of it for a moment, your physicality of your body isn't particularly peaceful. It's always itching, it's always moving, it's always got something going on. It's not exactly Mr. or Mrs. Peaceful.
Perfect. Yes.
Yeah, not always. Your mind is a flipping disaster, because your mind goes from A to B to Z or Z and back again. How many times in a minute or a second? It's always moving around. Very hard for your mind to be literally peaceful.
Absolutely.
I think we all agree. And in today's world, with the internet and all the other stuff going on,
there's so much stimulus going on.
We're very overstimulated. Yeah. But there's one place in our lives that no one else can actually get to. It belongs to you. I think there's a nursery rhyme: it belongs to me and no one else but me. And that's your soul. And you can call it your soul, you can call it your spirit. And when you allow that, the full extent of the dignity to which it's entitled, it's the unique characteristic of the human being that we have this soul that is individual, it's personal, confidential, no one else can see it, and no one else can have it.
Right.
And it doesn't need anything except for you to dignify it. That's all it ever asks for. And if you have a mechanism to dignify your soul, which is usually done through a combination of faith and trust and peacefulness itself, meditation, reflection, whatever your technique is to dignify your soul, it is in that we find the greatest pleasure in life. And it is also one of the most powerful tools to ward off the demon of FOMO.
Right.
I rest my case.
Thank you, Jeremy.
Thank you, Sarah.